Have you ever been out trying to film in the middle of the day and gone, gee, it's so bright, my footage is going to be overexposed? Or maybe you've been somewhere and you want to film a waterfall or a river and you want to try and get that beautiful motion blur look. Well, that's where something called the ND filter comes in. ND filter stands for neutral density, and it's a filter that you can put onto your camera, like this action camera here, the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro, to cut out light. And in this video, we're going to tell you all about them and when to use them with your action camera. For today's video, we're going to be using the little ND filter kit, which comes from the good people at Taliesin. Now, this little kit here comes with 4 different filters that you can use on your camera lens. We're going to tell you about them right now. So the first one we're going to talk about is the CPL lens. That's this one here, or the CPL filter. And what this one does is it actually reduces any reflection from surfaces like water and glass when you're filming, and it's actually really good for bringing out the colors in your footage. So this one here is the ND8 filter. And as I said, it's a neutral density filter. And with this one here on your camera, it's going to reduce the amount of light coming into your footage to the point where you only have 1/8 of the original light coming into your lens, okay? So around about 87% of the light's gonna be blocked out if you use this particular lens. So the next one we have in here is a ND16. So this one here is the next step up from the ND8 that we just showed you. By using this one here, what it means is only 1/16 of the light that would have come into your lens when you're using it without a filter is allowed into the camera's sensor. So this one reduces a lot of light for really bright situations. Okay, the last one here is the ND32 filter, and this one reduces the amount of light coming into your camera by more than 90%. So this is what you would use on a really, really bright day. Okay, so that's all the lenses. As you can see there, they're from Taliesin. Taliesin make great products. I'll put a link in the description down below if you're interested. Now let's chuck them on the camera, and we're going to show you how they can make an impact to the footage that you film with your DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. Okay, so the first lens that we've grabbed out of the kit is the CPL lens, and it's pretty easy to put it onto the Osmo Action 5 Pro. All you need to do is grab the lens, make sure you take off the protective cover, by the way, and then just slot it on like so, and it's a really nice snug fit, okay? So straight away, that's already like attached to your camera, and all you need to do now is go out and do some filming with the CPL lens. Now, one little tip about using the CPL lens is you want to try and be at a 90-degree angle to the sun. Now, the sun is just over there right now, it's quite bright, so a 90-degree angle from where the sun is right now would be roughly straight down this creek bank over here. That's where I'm going to be doing my filming for this part of the video. We're down by a river here near Mawson Lakes here in South Australia. So what I'm going to do first of all is do some filming with the Osmo Action 5 Pro with the lens off. So I'm shooting at 24 frames per second. And then we're going to show you the same bit of footage, but with the CPL lens put onto the camera. All right, so here is the ND8. Now this reduces the f-stops on your camera by 3 f-stops. And what it means is basically when you put it on the camera, you're gonna have 1/8 of the light that you would originally have coming into your lens. That's a good way to remember things when you see the numbers on the side of the filter. So if you see an ND2 filter, for example, that means it's cutting half the light. If you see ND4, that means only 1/4 of the light is coming in. And in the case of ND8, only 1/8 of the light from outside is getting into your camera sensor. So I'm going to use the similar settings to when I first shot in the first segment, where I'm shooting at 24 frames per second. Everything else is pretty much auto on the camera. And then I'm going to show you the same bit of footage using the ND8 filter. Not a lot of difference there, I guess, between the regular lens and what happened when you put the ND8 filter on. I was a bit surprised, actually. I thought it might have had more of an effect. I hope you're enjoying this video and getting some value out of it. But one thing I would really like you to do, if you could, is hit the like and the subscribe buttons. Just doing these couple of little small things really helps the growth of my little channel, so I can keep making videos like this one here for you. In return, each and every week, I'll do my very best to bring you the latest and the greatest news and views about action cameras like this one here, the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. Hey, thanks for listening. let's get back to today's video. Now, one of the reasons why you would use an ND filter is if you want to try to follow the photography 180-degree rule. And if you're not sure what that is, what it basically means is when you're filming, you want to have your shutter speed at double what you have for your frame rate. So for example, if you're shooting at 24 frames per second, you would want to have your shutter speed at 1/48, ideally, if you want to follow the 180-degree rule. That's something that you would follow. Say you want to get really cinematic footage, that's a common rule in photography. Now, I'm filming right now with this CPL filter, and I'm filming right now, this next section is going to be filmed at 60 frames per second. So at 60 frames per second, I would want to have a shutter speed of 1/120. But this is what happens when I try to film at those particular settings on the Osmo Action 5 Pro. So even before I do any filming, if you have a look there, you can see the footage is super overexposed. So I'll just do the same sort of filming sequence I did before. So yeah, that looks, okay, I'm gonna stop it there. That looks pretty horrific. So what that tells me is that I need to have a filter on the lens at this time of day, which is gonna be a lot stronger. And I'm gonna try and film the next segment at 60 frames per second at 120, at a shutter speed of 1/120, and then we're gonna see if this lens is up to the task or we have to go up to the next ND filter. Okay, that's a little bit better than what we had before with the CPL filter, but it's still not right. The shot is still overexposed even at 60 frames per second, even at a frame rate of 60 frames per second at a shutter speed of 1/120. So that means it's time to try the next one up, which is the ND16. When you film and you want to say film something cinematic, 24 frames per second is the normal movie standard. But if you want to say film something and then slow it down later, and to try and get that buttery smooth look, it's better to shoot at a higher frame rate. So in this case, I'm using 60 frames per second and I'm shooting at a shutter speed of 1/120. So you could do the same test yourself at 24 frames per second as your shutter speed and 48 or 50 for your shutter speed. That's cool, but that's the reason why I'm doing my test at 60 frames per second today. I'm really surprised that it took the ND32 filter to get exactly the kind of footage and exactly the kind of colors that I wanted in my shot at this time of day, shooting at 60 frames per second at a shutter speed of 1/120. So as you can see, this simple little contraption, and honestly, the ND filters don't take up much space in your camera bag. They're pretty light. You get them for around about 50 bucks from Amazon. That's where I got mine from. And as I said earlier, I'll put a link in the description if you're interested. But it's just amazing how these little donkshies here, these little items have made such a difference to the footage filming at this time of day. But of course, cutting out the light or blocking out the light or using it, the old sunglasses term again, is only one of the things you can do with ND filters. You can also do something really cool called motion blur, and we're going to explore that right now. Hey, and welcome to Port Adelaide. We're on one of the busiest roads here in this part of the city. This is called Port Road. So there's lots of movement and lots of motion. So what I want to do right now is show you how we can use motion blur in your footage by using the little ND filters that we showed you earlier on in this video. Now, motion blur, what does that mean? Well, what that means is like when you actually see something move on camera, it looks kind of realistic. Like if you move a hand in real life and you watch it, you're gonna see like a little bit of like after effect, I guess you'd call it, happening. You can see part of your hand moving on by, and you see that feeling of motion, so you know something's in motion. If you shoot with a really high frame rate, like often to say 30 frames per second, it looks a lot more static and not as natural. So that's why you would use motion blur in your footage when you're filming a video. All right, so we are right now in Morialta Conservation Park here, just in the Adelaide Hills. And I thought I'd bring you up here so we can show you some more motion blur in action. Beautiful waterfalls behind me. These are called third falls. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to show you how it looks just with the camera as it is, just filming in regular video mode. And then we're going to chuck on some of these filters. One of the awesome things about shooting with ND filters is that it actually allows you to actually slow down your shutter rate. So it means you can still capture some great footage, and hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun with it here today. What we did just then was we kept the ND8 filter on, but we cut the shutter speed from 1/50, where it looked pretty impressive as it was following the 180-degree rule. And then we slowed that shutter speed down by half to 1/25. So by doing that though, what happened was the footage looks kind of a little bit overexposed, so it's not quite what we're looking for. So that means it's time to try the next filter. Just to mix it up a little bit there, I changed the ISO down to 200 for that last segment that we just saw. Normally I shoot about 400. 400 is a great ISO to have for like most outdoor uses, but if you can, it's really good to try to get the lowest ISO as you possibly can, because the lower the ISO, the less chance of having any grain or noise in your footage. Normally at 400, you wouldn't actually get that during the daytime, but we just sort of thought we'd try that as a bit of a test, and I think it actually looks pretty good. Which one do you like better, by the way? 400 ISO at 25 frames, a shutter speed of 1/25, or 200 ISO at a shutter speed of 1/25? I gotta think, I'm kind of like leaning more towards the latter. Anyway, you know what? There's one more ND filter to try, and that's the ND32. Let's test it out now. Okay, so that's just a bit of a wrap up here from Third Falls here in the Adelaide Hills. Just trying to give you a bit of an idea of how the motion blur effect looks with moving water in this case here. Of course, you can use, you can try to capture motion blur in lots of other different things as well. Actually, one thing too that you may not have thought of is you can actually do the same thing for photographs as well. You can also use these lenses and then kind of slow down your shutter speed as well to see what sort of effects you can get. And we're going to try some of them right now. If you look online, there's hundreds of different accessories that you could buy for your action camera. But I think an ND filter really is something that you might want to consider adding to your camera bag. By the way, which one of the filters that we used today was your favorite one? And which is the one that you think that you would use if you had a set of ND filters like these ones here from Telesun? To learn more about action cameras like the Osmo Action 5 Pro, what you want to do is click on this video over here now. Thanks for your company, and I'll see you in the next video.